Hi friends, I'm Cheshta Jain from backpackersmom.com and today we have Sindhu with us. And Sindhu is a swimmer in open waters and she's an enthusiast and she is also a mom of 8-year-old boy. Let's hear from Sindhu and Sindhu, please tell us how your journey has started, how you got into swimming and like, wow, open waters, it's so thrilling. So please tell us about it.
Sure. Hey, thanks, Cheshta. Thanks for having me here. I'm extremely glad that this is a good platform for me to also talk about my experiences, and if it's going to help other women in any way, I would be extremely glad about it. So I was a kid swimmer. So I started my swimming at the age of 5. It just accidentally happened that there was a swimming pool close to my house, and my brother was often falling sick, and he was advised to be put into swimming to improve immunity and strengthen his lungs and all that. So my parents decided, okay, let the sister also join along with the brother, and that's how it just started. And my stint into swimming as a kid was nearly for about 10 to 12 years. And by the time I actually quit swimming, I was at the peak of my swimming career. So I was a state champion as a kid. And I was also a national swimmer. I mean, I've participated in several national meets as well. And typically, like any Indian family, wherein you basically reach your 10th grade or 12th grade, all you have to do is stop everything else and focus on your academics, right? So that's typically how I discontinued swimming as a kid, and it abruptly stopped. And until I started, of course, after that I started focusing on my academics, my career, and so on. So until about I think close to 10 years now, 10 years ago, when I had a small accident, and this was a horse riding accident that I had, and I had to had my knees operated. And that's when I was advised that swimming would be the best form of recovery for me, because it's a low impact exercise, and it was also strengthen my legs, which were I was almost bedridden for like a couple of months. So I was advised that swimming would be the best start for me in terms of recovery, and that's how it all just restarted. So when I restarted, I found that I was not really at the peak of what I was during my younger days, but I definitely had a little bit of spark in me still, and the passion just, it took a rebirth after that. And and slowly I started training a little more and a little more. And I remember swimming into almost 6 months into my pregnancy, 6 to 7 months into my pregnancy, in fact. So I took a 2 months break for my delivery. And after delivering, about a month and a half after delivering, I started swimming again. So it was barely a 3-month gap, 3 to 4 months gap during my delivery, that I was back in pool and I was back in water, and it felt surreal for me. It's like being at home when I'm in water. And it was also challenging, and I was on my maternity leave, but I would leave my baby for like about 30 minutes to 45 minutes, make a quick swim and come back. And slowly this emerged into a little bit of competitive swimming, where I started competing in masters category. Masters category is basically 25 years and above. It's an open category where you can compete. And I started competing at the state level, and I started winning as well. And that's when it looked a lot more, it looked a lot more challenging. I was just challenging myself, because one thing, you're not, forget about, one thing is you're not in shape post your delivery, but then you're also not in form, right? You need that core strength, you need that upper body strength when you're swimming, and especially when you're competitive swimming, you need a very good cardio and endurance levels of fitness. So that's when I started challenging myself. And there were a lot of other activities I started bringing in to improve my swimming. I started running, and I started training under a coach. So where I train, we basically are a set of group of ex-elite swimmers. We get together, we give workouts to each other. We train about 3 to 4 days a week. We swim about 10 to 12 kilometers a week. So that's how it all started. And there was one swim meet that happened at one of in Mysore, which was an open water swim, which is not necessarily a swimming pool, but you're swimming out in a lake or sea or a river. That's what it's called, open water. So this was a total eye opener for me, and that was my first swim in the open waters, and it was a 1 kilometer category, and I won the gold there. And post this, there was no looking back, and the experience was extremely different, and it gave me a very holistic feeling of my sport, and I started looking at my sport in a very different way once it started. So like I said, there was no looking back. There is an annual swimathon that happens in Goa every year, and they have a 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer category, and this is like running a marathon. So the 10 kilometer swimming is literally like a full 41, 42 kilometer marathon. And it was extremely, it's a totally different zone of training that will be required. It is extremely stretching. It's high endurance, both mentally and physically, when you're competing in such long distance, activities. And that's when this whole channel swimming concept opened up to me, and I found that there were a lot of Indian swimmers who were swimming the English Channel, the Catalina Channel. They're basically 5 channels across the globe, which basically challenge every good swimmer. So it's every good swimmer's dream to go there and have an expedition at one of the channels swimming, and it's like climbing a Mount Everest. And that's when we figured out that there is a Catalina Channel, which is a 35-kilometer swim from Catalina Islands to west coast of America, the Northern America. And there wasn't an Indian team which had actually swam a relay there. And that's when we, around 6 of us, decided to form a relay team, represent India there. It was an extremely challenging swim, and we also wanted to ensure that we Indian swimmers were no less than any other country's swimmers, and we wanted to keep our timing as good or on par with any other country that has swam that channel. And this was a night swim. This is mandatorily to start at midnight, and it went on for about 12 and a half hours of swimming, and extremely cold waters, which you never get to train in India, because you never find such temperatures of waters in India, and it's not very easy to train here. But that was another challenge we were able to overcome, and that was a successful swim. And the feeling was really out of the world when we took our Indian flags when we reached the other point, and we were just hurling around with the Indian flag there to mark our successful swim. So that was extremely nice.
Wow.
That's my swim.
That's a great journey, Sindhu. That's a great journey. And Sindhu, just tell us, like, many women feels that they want to do so much in life. They have their passions that, they feel that, even if they are in a well-to-do family, they feel that, what am I personally doing? What am I doing? I need to go out and do something. We live only once. But when it comes to the family, they don't get that kind of support from the family, and the husband might feel, why do you have to do all this? You already have everything in the house. So what do you think, like, have you ever got such kind of challenges from the family or from the people of the society that, why you have to leave your child and go and swim and establish yourself? Would you like to share that with us?
Sure. So I think support is absolutely important, especially when you're looking at your family for support and encouragement. I think I'm fortunate enough that my husband is extremely supportive in that way, and he's very happy about encouraging me in pursuing my swimming career as well. And it's my parents also who have been pushing me well enough. But of course, outside of this, people do talk about this. I mean, instead of, a lot of times I get to hear that, hey, you know what, I think you should focus on your son's career or swimming career right now. You need to encourage him to come forward. And it's an indirect way of saying, you're just giving too much importance to yourselves. I think those kinds of things are quite common, and you are expected to hear that from our society, because I think we as moms, right, we are conditioned into, brought up in such a way, or conditioned into such a way that the moment you have a child, your identity, your dreams, your self, whatever promotions or self improvement, self development always takes a back seat, right? But it is not necessarily that way. I mean, you taking a back seat has nothing to do with how your child is going to probably progress, or it has nothing to do with it. It's completely exclusive. And I think most of the time, the women that I have seen, sometimes including myself, we are our own blockers when it comes to pursuing our dreams. And sometimes we need to get out of that comfort zone in order to fight a little bit, struggle a little bit, prove your point, prove yourself, prove to others as well, who you look up to support. And that's showing others that why you need that support, right? So it does take a little effort, it does take a little effort, but I think the women have to stop their own mental blocks in order to get out of their comfort zones. And as I say, life always begins at the end of your comfort zone. I mean,
Exactly.
if that you want to do, if there's something extraordinary that you want to do, you need to do something that the rest of the folks actually don't do, right? You need to stand out. And that's usually the blockers we have. But then you and of course, let me tell you, I think that the motherhood and the whole concept of motherhood itself is extremely overhyped, right? It's extremely there's a lot of scrutiny that we as mothers have to face day out. No matter what you do, people are watching you rather than, there's also another parent there, but the father never gets all that extra attention, extra scrutiny, extra monitoring. The mothers can somehow, and they can anyway get away, but it's the mothers who always take everything. It's either the credit or the blame, right?
Right.
So it is naturally going to be there. It is not going to go in a while. I mean, that's the reality. That is how everything has been conditioned into. We have brought up that way. Our culture around is that way, and that is the expectation. But I would say, and I would tell all the other mothers, first chill. There is nothing extraordinary about being a mother. There's also another father. You're just one of the parent, right? There is nothing that extra role that you play as a mother.
Exactly.
So,
So
I mean, we are
recently,
mothers, right? We are
yeah,
not God.
yeah. So
Yeah.
recently,
So it's
somebody
okay to.
just asked me that, Cheshta, how do you manage? I have a special need child. So somebody asked me, how do you manage your child and, your work, and, you live a happy life, you travel, you do all sides of kinds of volunteering program. How do you manage all that? And I said, okay, I'm a mother, but, my child also have a father also. I'm
Right. Okay.
50% of it, right? So
Yeah,
there's a lot. When my child is with dad, I get to do all that. So it
exactly.
depends, like, what timing you are choosing, how many hours your husband is taking care of the child. Like right now, if I'm taking interview, then, my husband is making sure that while our child is attending the online classes, he is there to give him stationery or anything
Right.
that she requires. So I'm free here, right? And when he is doing his office work, then I am taking care of the child, making her do her homework, and not looking at my laptop or phones. So this is the whole schedule and the plan you have to manage. You don't
Absolutely.
Women just like give up, like, they just think, okay, yeah, my husband will not do anything and I am the one who has to do everything. So
Exactly.
they just assume, they just
Right.
assume. Maybe you just give it a try, stand for it, and just ask for your rights and say, okay, this is what I think, that, there is a space in your schedule. Maybe let's try to manage this. You take care of this, I will take care of this, and let's do it. Let's start. And start a
Absolutely.
little. Don't like to just jump and, grab everything at one go. Just do a little,
Absolutely.
get it, and then if you feel it's working well, then just take another ladder up and then do more, right? So that's
No,
how
that's
things should be.
absolutely right what you called out, because I think reaching out for support is a very key thing, right? I mean, a lot of us try to prove that we are extremely independent women, we can do everything. we do it all. We multitask. We have so much on our plates, and no, that's what we are. But you don't have to go for help. Reach out for support. It's okay. I leave my son in the hands of my mom sometimes to entirely take care of his studies and all that. But it's okay, right? It's absolutely fine. And children are extremely resilient. The whole funda that your child is always listening to only the mom, he's always, or he or she is always watching the mom, he or she is always learning from mom, it's not really a right thing. Your child is learning everywhere from the environment, and mother is just one of the folks that he or she would interact with. Your father, the role that the father plays is also equally important, right? So the whole, like I said, it's extremely overhyped. The motherhood and the attention that the mother gets is too much. So
I think the child is raised by the community itself.
exactly.
The teacher is playing the role, the neighbors are playing the role. You go for the play date. Okay, I want to go to my salon, and I leave my child for a play date to the neighbor's house. The
Right.
father is there. The maid is taking care of the house. The cook is doing the cooking part. I'm getting the online deliveries of the groceries. So the community itself, the supports, that's your whole support staff is there. But it is upon you how you plan well and take help of that support staff. People just don't want to take help. They want to be like, अरे यार नहीं ग्रोसरी तो मुझे ही लेके आनी पड़ेगी. It's
Exactly.
like, my husband just want to eat from my hands only. I have to cook. So it's like, I tell them, okay, let's go out for a vacation, like mom's only vacation. And they really want to do that in life, but they just don't take a step ki nahi yaar, 2 din ke liye kaise manage hoga, how things will happen for 2 days.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just leave the child for 2 days. That's okay. Just give it up, man. Just go. It's your life. Just once in a life moment. Enjoy it.
Right. So like I said, we're also conditioned into growing that way. So the moment you do that, you start feeling guilty about it. Right. And there's probably someone like your mom or your mother-in-law, whoever who comes over and tells you, you know what, how can you leave your child and go on a vacation? That you're not permitted to do so. Indirectly, that those are the kind of things that we would we start beating about ourselves with a lot of guilt. And honestly, it's easy for me to say because even I do the same thing. So a lot of times there are some mistake that I make where, I remember one incident where it was my son's day. It was a color dress day at school, and I'd packed his uniform and he was dressed up in uniform and he was sent. And the whole lot others are in color dress and my son was in uniform. And I was at work when I understood that, big mistake that I had done, and I understood he was feeling extremely left out. And the whole day I was beating about myself, and I was almost in tears that had become so careless and so involved in my job. I was feeling guilty of being too involved in my job whatsoever to show. And I know I'm not really blaming him for not taking any responsibility, but it was fine, right? I mean, you pay attention to what is really needed. So these are the trivial things that we moms start feeling guilty. We beat about ourselves. We are not very kind to ourselves. I think that is something that we need to let go. And there's just, like I said, too much hype around this. They say mothers are gods. God can't be here. That's why he sent mothers. No, mothers are humans. We make a lot of mistakes, and let's live with that.
Exactly. Everybody tells me, Cheshta, you're a super mom. I say, no, there's no word like super mom. It's mom. Okay, it's mom. That's the word. And every mom tries to do best for their child. So it's not like, maybe I pay extra attention, I have to rigorously take her to physiotherapy every day without fail for it's been like 7 years now. But without a fail, every day, single day, but people feel that, I left my career for this and that. It's okay. That's also passion of my life. I feel happy when she accomplishes something, her milestones are achieved. She in fact cannot stand on her own, but she is very good at swimming.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, she's very good at swimming. So she has this hereditary spastic paraplegia, which is one of the disorder. It's like cerebral palsy. She cannot stand on her own and walk on her own. So, but I take her to the pool. I mean, before coronavirus, and people used to ask me that, has she started standing walking? I said, no, it's not important to stand or walk. It's just, she enjoys
She's
swimming.
having a lot of fun in the pool, and that's what's important.
Yeah, that's important. And
Yeah.
you really have to think out of the box, right? You have to think out of the box. Why people just want their children to stand and walk? Just let them swim if they want to swim. I mean, she does horse riding. I take her for horse riding. I take her for cycling. She does everything. Like, she is very fond of doing bungee jumping. I did bungee jumping in New Zealand, and she was like really excited. Oh, mom, I want to do it. And I said, yeah, sure, for sure. Why not? Never say no to your child that you cannot do this because you do not have, just try, keep trying. Repetitions are very important. Get into something, and then you can just achieve it irrespective of the boundaries. You will find your own
Absolutely.
path, your own ways, like a
Absolutely.
river.
I can't agree more. And especially, your child is always watching you. You need not advise them. You did not tell them, you do this, you do that. Half the while they're watching you, they're learning from what you're doing. So when I get up in the morning and go for a run or, start my yoga, my son is just watching me. He wants to get up at the same time. He wants to accompany me to the pool. He wants to swim in my lane. So it just follows, right? I've never really advised him all this. So it's quite natural that your kids are going to pick up on you. So if you are someone who would probably give up on everything and probably crib about it, that's also what your child is picking up, right? And you make your child show that you have been extremely upset or sad about what has happened to you, or you're not able to pursue your hobbies, you're not able to pursue your careers or dreams or whatever it is. Your kids are basically picking on that.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not like, mom has to do something for their child. It's like, mom, do something for yourself and your child will follow.
That's right. That's right.
Um,
That's the best thing to do. A lot of times I never pick my son from his classes, and there are other moms who come there, pick him up from the classes, and I'm usually at work. I work at Walmart. I'm a senior technical manager there, and I'm usually engrossed in my work in the evenings, and I never really give that time to him. It's usually only the dad who picks up and drops and all that, who takes care of all that. And a lot of times your child is very resilient with that. And I've asked my son if he's upset that all the other moms come over but I'm not there, and he's like, Amma, don't worry. I mean, you focus on your work, you finish your work, it's okay. So kids understand, it's fine.
right.
And I'm a very bad cook for a mother. So
I can relate to that.
okay.
Okay, I can relate to that.
We can't do everything, and let's accept that. No, you're expected to do, you're expected to be a wonderful cook, a wonderful mother, a wonderful caregiver, wonderful wife, wonderful homemaker, etc., etc., etc. No, if you have limitations, it's okay. If you're not good at something, it's okay.
Right. It's important how you manage things. Maybe you're not good at cooking, but you can explain
somehow manage
it to your cook that what to cook and
exactly.
how to make that dish amazing.
Right.
So leave it to the right people, I say. Leave the job to the right people. Correct. If you cannot teach your child every day, give her a tutor. Take her to some classes. Take her to some professionals. Even for yourself, like get a training, follow a mentor. Be with people who can inspire you. Grasp the right content. Usually on social media you are like browsing the selfies of people. Why go, even if you're on social media, it's not like don't look at the social media, it's crap. See the right content, something which inspires you, and then you follow, you take actions, and then you send it to that person that something I saw on your page, and I was impressed, and now see, even I followed this in my life and see the results, I'm so happy. So let's do that. I mean, let's take social media, and the whole digital marketing is to connect easily. That's the idea behind being closely together. So even if you are sitting in Bangalore and I'm sitting here in Gurgaon, and see, we are inspiring so many people who are listening to this video. So
That's right.
just
That's
even
right. I
if
think it's
you're
good. It's always important to, see the positive side of all this and make good use of it rather than, there's always the pros and cons of everything, right? So you just look at what is the right thing, what is the positive thing of having a connect like this. And you very rightly said, Cheshta, I think we need very good mentors around us. We need to be with people who can encourage and, have that positive impact on us. And I too have this whole circle of mentors. I have a circle of mentors when it comes to my career advices, and these are the people that these are my go-to people all the time whenever I have any block, mental block or I'm so there is a group of people that I go to when it comes to my personal relationships. There's another group of women or women mentors that I go to when it comes to advisors and pointers on my career. So there is I have a wonderful coach that I go to when it comes to my training and swimming and so on. So have that circles of people that you can reach out to, open up, have faith in, and get that positive. People are always ready to help. So reach out for help.
exactly. Sometimes we women feel that, our family is our only circle. Everything we need in life, we will just go to them that, I'm thinking I want to start a business. What do you think? What should I start? And they'll say, kya zarurat hai? Like, why you want to get into this? Or, you will have to do a lot of hard work and just let it be. And then they'll say, okay, yeah, even, I feel, and the whole system, like, you get into the negativity. So your friends and your family are supportive, but they don't really want you to stress out also, and which is a bad thing. You should take stress at times, because when you are in pressure, you do great things, like, you want to just break that pressure and achieve something. So diamonds are created in pressure. I just follow that.
Right. I think that's a lovely point about stress versus pressure. Okay, and since it's the Olympic time, I'll just tell you one quick, a quick glance at quick thought that I just came up on my mind. So there is this Olympic champion who's a swimmer, and his name is Caleb Dressel. He basically he won a gold medal in the Tokyo Olympics, and he even broke a 50-meter freestyle record, so 100-meter freestyle record, and it was a world record, in fact. And in his Instagram story, something basically caught my eye last week. Okay, so he had put up a schedule of his swimming events for Tokyo, and it was just a piece of paper that he has written down, and he just kept sticking after every event is done. And around that table of schedule, he's just written down he's just doodled around probably his thoughts. Okay, so it talks about probably just a one liner about what he's thinking. And in one column he's written something about stress and pressure, and where he says pressure is good, stress is bad. So stress is self-made, pressure is good. So it's such a wonderful thing. It's just 4 lines that he's written. He's just scribbled it, but it makes so much of sense, right? I mean, you're standing there on the diving board, the whole world watching you. There's expectation from a nation like United States, and he has that on his shoulders. He's all of 19 years old, and you imagine the pressure that he has on his head right now. But sports is one thing that when you take stress, you're not really performing. But pressure, yes, that drives you, that makes you perform. There's a difference.
Right. So let's take pressure.
Yeah,
Pressures are good. Let's come out of the comfort zone and let's take pressure. Let's write down our goals, that and make the tiniest goal. This is, I tell to everyone that make your tiniest goal. Even if you are wanting to do get into the shape, that should not be your goal. Your goal should be, I want to get up at 8 o'clock and do around the society. Yeah. So that's your goal, not the getting into the shape. That's the result you will get.
That's right.
So that's how you should set up the goals. And I just wish all the women listening to this videos that please comment on the section that what is that you want to do what should be your goal and how you are going to achieve that. On that note, thank you so much, Sidhu, and your stories are really amazing. It's just amazing to talking to you, and we will
Same
get
here,
in touch.
Cheshta.
All right.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you,
Absolute
Sindhu.
pleasure. Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.